Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to dive right into one of the most terrifying, completely bizarre historical anomalies on the books, the dancing plague of 1518. I know it sounds like total myth, right? But it's actually a very real, well-documented, and incredibly fatal phenomenon.
So, can a dance actually be fatal? It's kind of a wild question to even ask. Usually we associate dancing with, joy, celebration, just letting loose. Definitely not some kind of lethal compulsion. But the history we're unpacking today, well, it absolutely forces us to confront exactly that.
Let's get into the bizarre phenomenon itself. When a joyous act becomes a true compulsion. So the dancing plague was exactly what it sounds like, a completely bizarre event where hundreds of people danced uncontrollably for days on end. We're talking about a literal plague of movement. This wasn't just a party that went on a bit too long, right? It was this overwhelming, unstoppable compulsion that struck completely without warning. It literally forced human bodies into perpetual motion, totally against their own will.
Moving on to 1518. The Strasbourg outbreak, a city completely seized by dance.
The year is 1518. Now, to put that into perspective, this places us in an era way, way before modern medicine. I mean, neurology or psychology, as we know them today, totally non-existent. The folks actually living through this nightmare had absolutely zero scientific framework to even begin to understand what was happening to their own bodies.
And the location? Strasbourg, France. It was a bustling European city that suddenly, almost out of nowhere, found itself engulfed in just unexplainable chaos. Just imagine it for a second. These totally ordinary 16th century streets suddenly transforming into this terrifying scene of involuntary mass movement. It's wild to think about.
And what's crazy is that this afflicted hundreds of people. We're not just talking about a handful of individuals here, or like one isolated family. No, this was a massive crowd, basically an entire segment of a city's population getting swept up in this together, all at the same time. The sheer scale of it makes it completely impossible to just write off as some weird localized quirk. In fact, historical accounts specifically tell us they danced uncontrollably for days without rest. And the absolutely crucial word there is uncontrollably. Think about the most grueling, exhausting physical workout of your entire life. Okay, now imagine hitting the absolute limit of your endurance. You are completely spent, but you are utterly unable to stop your limbs from moving. For days on end, no sleep, no breaks, just relentless, agonizing motion. Which brings us to the deadly dance itself, and the horrific physical toll it took. Because the reality here is incredibly grim. Dozens of people died. So yeah, this was not just some strange public spectacle or a funny little historical footnote we can kind of laugh at today. It was highly lethal. This overwhelming compulsion to dance completely overrode the human body's most fundamental basic biological instinct to just survive. Victims ultimately succumbed to exhaustion, strokes, and heart attacks. Seeing these severe medical traumas really highlights that terrifying contrast, doesn't it? The contrast between our lighthearted concept of dancing and the gruesome reality of what happened here. Their cardiovascular systems, their literal physical frames just completely collapsed under the sheer strain of continuous forced exertion.
And that leads us into an enduring medical mystery, the unsolved enigma.
Back in 1518, hundreds were afflicted with this fatal, uncontrollable dancing. Yet, here we are in the present day, and the exact cause remains a complete medical mystery. Seriously, a complete mystery. Despite centuries of incredible scientific advancement and our deep understanding of the brain, the nervous system, pathogens, the whole shebang, we are literally still in the dark about what actually triggered this devastating outbreak. The historical record is crystal clear on what happened, but the why remains a total enigma to this day. Which leaves us with this final thought. If a mass, fatal event from 1518 can completely defy modern medicine, what else remains entirely unknown about the human body? It really challenges us to ponder the limits of our own knowledge when we're staring down such an impossible, terrifying piece of history. There are clearly still some incredibly complex mysteries locked right inside of us. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me for this explainer.